Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Goose Green. This is the latest in the TCS Tactical Combat System, and it is a game designed by Carl Fung and is published by Multiman Publishing. Well, TCS as a system has been around for quite a while, and it was kind of falling off a little bit, falling off the radar. And now it looks like it's kind of coming back on. I don't know if this is a test by MMP to see if the interest is still there for TCS by putting this one out, or if this one was just one that they needed to get out because it's been worked on for quite a while by Carl Fung, or will we be seeing more in this line? I'd love to see more modern stuff because that is definitely my jam, and that's why I got this one. This game is a Ziploc game, so it has no box, but there is a back of the box insert that we're going to take a look at now to see what this game is all about. Goose Green covers this entire battle in turns representing 20 to 30 minutes each and a map scale of 125 yards per hex. Units range from sections to platoons. Both sides fielded what was roughly a reinforced battalion, making for a fast tempo game with great replay value. With just a minimum of special rules, this game brings the TCS to the 1980s, where in a classic infantry confrontation, not a lot has changed since World War II. The British player must orchestrate a fast-paced attack crossing the entire map, removing all points of Argentinian resistance and capturing Goose Green with a minimum of losses. He must make a good use of few supporting arms available, half a battery of artillery, Milan ATGMs, and light mortar and MG support, to overcome dug-in Argentinian forces that outnumber the British by 2 to 1. The Argentinian player has solid troops with reasonable artillery and air support, but must create a defense in depth against a better-led British force accustomed to a higher operational tempo and greater firepower. Every turn requires important decisions of when to hold the line, when to withdraw, and where to commit the few remaining reserves to delay and possibly stop the British attack. The Argentinians do not have the motivation and training level of the British, but are dug in with the benefit of minefields, trenches, numerous heavy weapons, and AA guns to assist the defense. Goose Green scenarios, you get the Battle of Goose Green, which is a historical deployment, 39 turns. Burnside House and Low Pass, 5 turns. Darwin Hill, 15 turns. The Airfield in the Schoolhouse, 14 turns. Bloody Goose Green, which is the full battle with better Argentine deployment, and it is 40 turns. Components, we get the TCS version 4.02 rulebook, Goose Green game-specific rulebook, 2 TCS charts and tables, 1 full-color 22 by 34-inch map, and 140 counters. And there's an example of the map up there along with the counters. It is rated as medium-high complexity and medium on the solitaire suitability scale. So let's take a closer look at all the components we get with Goose Green. We start off with the game cover insert, the version 4.02 TCS rules, the game-specific rules for Goose Green, 2 sets of player aid foldouts, our sheet of counters, and our map. So let's set up the map and take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the map that comes with the game. It's a really well done map. Really dig the color palette, the feeling that it evokes looking at it here. Everything is very easy to read, which is always the case with MMP maps. They are very easy to follow along with because they don't add a lot of extra detail when it comes to the terrain. They just give you functional wargame maps. Then this one is one of their better ones in my opinion. Start off at the north with Burnside Hill. We come down to Coronation Ridge, Middle Hill, Darwin Hill, Boca Hill over here. Got the airfield and then Goose Green settlement at the very bottom. At the top we have the terrain effects chart. Below that we have the weather table, boxes for British support, arrow gun repair, Argentine close air support, British morale, and Argentine morale. Bottom right we have reinforcements and the start end scenarios boxes. And at the bottom right we have the turn record track. Next we'll take a look at the player aid foldout that comes with the game. On the front we have the command phase and sorties giving us the sequence of play. You have your command phase, aircraft and artillery phase, action phases, cleanup phase, and then turn end. Then you have your command prep table on the right hand side along with the sortie table on the bottom. On the inside we have the artillery spotting and AT rolls tables, artillery barrage zone sizes, artillery barrage strength, AT roll table. Below that we have the artillery adjustment table, artillery point fire table, artillery scatter table, spotting range table, and at the bottom left we have the mortar and infantry gun smoke table. On the next page we have the fire resolution tables, infantry firepower, area target stacking, area fire range, target terrain posture, point fire range, and other modifiers for your target, firer, and both. Point fire differential, the fire table, and the morale modifiers on the bottom left. And on the back, we have the assorted tables and information giving us the basic terrain effects on combat and movement chart, minefield costs and attacks, artillery barrage fire values, and the chart of common graphic symbols and their use. Because remember, you're going to be drawing up op plans in this, and these are the common graphic symbols that you'll be using in drawing up your op plans. Next, we'll take a look at the counters that come with the game. These are the only counters that you get in the game, only 140 counters, so low counter density for this one. At the top, we have the Argentine units. Below that, we have the British units. And then your administrative counters will fill out the rest of the counter sheet. Next, we'll take a look at the series rules. This is a 32-page full-color rulebook, although it is primarily black and white, as you'll see when we look through it. Start off with the table of contents, listing out all the sections of rules and their associated page numbers. Introduction, general game concepts, your map rules and scale. Standard rounding rule, fog of war, dice roll, sequence of play, and then a breakdown of your sequence of play, the units, unit types, target and fire types, multi-step counters, modes, mode change, and an explanation of all the numbers on each of the counters and what each of the administrative counters do in the game. Then we get into mode effects, stacking limits, handling rules, command, playing without command, units unaffected by command, unassigned units, higher commander's intent, and then your op sheets, which is going to be the heart of this system, is writing up your op sheets and then playing it out. Got an example over here, a complex fire and movement attack op sheet with a fish motif. And you can see here we've got bass, trout, carp, and then objective tuna and shark over here. It's going to be pretty straightforward. You've got your LOD here. You're going to have 3 axes of advance here. Axis bass, trout, carp. You're going after objective tuna and then shark. Trout here is going to be in support of the attack on tuna. Then also you have carp going after shark. Then we have a simpler attack op sheet with a tree motif, axis elm, you got maple, and then objective oak. Over on the right, you have an elastic defense op sheet where you're going to have your primary defense positions here, and then you're going to have your fallback, and then you're going to be exiting off the map. Pretty straightforward, easy to understand, but you've got all your different segments of it that you got to put together and then put it to action in the game. Implementation, mission completion, rally points, special handling issues, special instructions. Then we have the night attack op sheet with a bird motif. So you got different motifs for each one. Line entry command, which is optional. Digging in, visibility and spotting ranges, and then your line of sight, general rules for that. Then you have your standard elevation determination, LOS determination, optional simplified elevation determination, optional contour heads, LOS determination. So you got a couple of optional ways to handle all these things. An elevation determination example down here at the bottom left. Another LOS determination example, and then over on the right-hand side, another illustrated example as well. Fire combat rules and restrictions, target type restrictions, terrain effects on fire combat. Then we have losses. A couple design notes and examples over here. Area fires, rules and restrictions, low trajectory versus high trajectory fires, area fire modifiers, the crossfire modifier, point fire modifiers, rules and restrictions, suppressive fire actions. Quite a bit of stuff here to keep in mind when you're setting this up, which I think is really cool. Rules and restrictions, point fire actions, rules and restrictions for that. Overwatch cycles, Overwatch triggers, rules and restrictions, your AT roles, morale, battalion morale, conducting morale checks, suppression, save yourself retreats, paralysis, surrender, recovery, vehicle morale, artillery, general artillery rules, ammunition, mission execution, observing, mission types, mission modifiers, adjustment, artillery barrage markers and fire resolution, indirect fire versus point targets, Overwatch during artillery and aircraft phase, smoke effects, smoke reduction, movement, terrain effects on movement, vehicle impulses, minefields, laying mines, crossing minefields, and breaching, assault combat, overrun combat, and then special units, carriers, integrated carriers, mortars, AT guns, infantry guns, on-map artillery, AA guns, aircraft sorties, aircraft sortie resolution, night effects, illumination, and then your scenario setup on page 29, as well as your setup notes and reinforcements, playing the game Solitaire, and then some developer's notes for version 4.01 and 4.02. Remember, this is version 4.02. Then we have Tactics 101 on page 30. And then we carry over to the back where we have the line of sight grid. And lastly, we have the game-specific rules. We start off on the front with the table of contents listing all the different rule sections and their associated page numbers. Introduction, general special rules, terrain notes, Boca House, Burnt Side House, and Cemetery, elevation, gorse line, coast Texas, tracks, bridges, trenches. All these are going to be specific to Goose Green. Unit designations, command and control, weather, night turns, anti-aircraft fire, mines, and British special rules. British artillery, second para, Colonel H, anti-tank guided missiles, close air support, along with, you can see here, these design notes sprinkled throughout. Carl puts in there to give his intention behind all these design aspects. HMS Arrow, fire support, Argentinian special rules, Argentinian morale, artillery, Task Force Mercedes, close air support, lack of transportation, and then reinforcements. Then we have some optional variants for both the British and the Argentinians on page 6. And then we start off with these scenarios on page 7. Battle of Goose Green, historical setup. It's going to be all text information. It's going to give you all of the hexes that you'll be setting up your forces on. Burnside House and Low Pass, Darwin Hill continued, the airfield and schoolhouse, Bloody Goose Green, and then order of battle and counter manifest for the British Organization of Forces and the Argentinians, as well as the glossary on page 11. Then we have designer's notes, player's notes for both the British and Argentinians, and then the historical notes on page 12 that continue on here. Then we have an annotated bibliography on page 15. And then on the back, we have the op sheet that you'll be using in the game. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Goose Green. This is a game designed by Carl Fung and is published by Multiman Publishing. Well, this is the latest in the long-running tactical combat system series from MMP, and it's great to see them covering a modern subject here with Goose Green. Hopefully they'll do more modern, whether it be hypothetical or historical, it doesn't matter. As long as it's modern, I'm down for that. So I've been looking forward to digging into this series. Kev and I have talked about it. He loves this series. He thinks I would really like it too, quite a bit. And I, from what I've read of the rules, it's something I definitely want to try out. I just haven't had the time to do it yet, but this is something I think I will jump into this one probably first because this is modern and that always attracts me more. Plus I've got a couple Marine Corps ones from Korea and World War II that I'll definitely jump into and dig in as well. But this is an interesting system. It puts you in a different mindset from the tactical perspective, and I think that's pretty cool. You've got to come up with your op plans. You've got to see how it works. Not just running your guys around shooting at each other, but you've got to think up your op plan ahead of time and then put it into action and see if you were right or wrong. And that's where I think it's really great to play it opposed. You can play it solitaire, of course, but playing opposed is where it's really going to be interesting because you're going to be trying to plot your moves against your opponents. And this is where the different feints and main efforts can really come into play and see if you can outsmart your opponent. So I think that's pretty cool. But looking forward to checking this one out and seeing if this is going to be a system that I'm really going to dig, as I'm anticipating I will. Well, this is available now, so if you haven't placed your order from the MMP website now, and you'll get it here pretty soon. This shipped pretty quick. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you'd be curious about this one. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.